We have the Palmetto Bowl, or, well, as people outside of the South will say, the Palmetto Bowl. That's right. Palmetto Bowl. At least we're not playing Louisville this week. The Palmetto Bowl, Clemson traveling to South Carolina this Saturday, 12 o'clock on the SEC network. Right now, South Carolina is a 2.5-point favorite. This is the Monday before the big game, so, the line's going to move. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. Clemson 6-5, South Carolina's 4-7. Both of these teams, and neither team has lived up to the preseason hype. Even the quarterbacks who are Heisman hopefuls did not live up to the hype. There's a lot of things that has not went in the favor of either one of these teams, and yet they meet this Saturday. I'm going to dive into this game in just a second. Really, the question that we should ask, who wants it more? Okay, let me ask it in a different way. Who wants to lose less? Probably could have worded that a little better, but I'm sorry, y'all. Not going to spend a ton of time on a 6-5 team versus a 4-7 and try to, polish the grammar up. So anyway, welcome to the channel. I'm glad you're hanging out with me here. Beautiful, beautiful Monday afternoon, Monday morning. As we get closer to Thanksgiving, the temperatures are going to drop as it should. It shouldn't be 85 degrees and Thanksgiving. If it's going to be 85 degrees, I better be in a tropical environment. I better be, in the Caribbean, the Keys, somewhere like that. Not the upstate of South Carolina. But anyway, happy early Thanksgiving to everyone. So if you are new to the channel, I hope you'll subscribe. It is free. It is free. I do appreciate it. Pass along on your forums, pass around to your friends at work, pass along on Facebook. Also have another channel called Another College Football Podcast. I talk about college football overall. So go check that out as well. All right. So today is not the prediction. Today I'm talking about both of these teams. Now, I mentioned it just a second ago, but let's go back to week one, right before week one of the college football season. The South Carolina Gamecocks. A lot of people felt like the South Carolina Gamecocks were going to make a decent run in the SEC and potentially make it to the college football playoff. Let's go to the other side, my side, the Tigers. Clemson had almost everyone in major and medium, how do I say that? At all levels of the media, all the way down to small YouTubers, believing that Clemson was not only going to maybe go undefeated for the season, maybe go 11-1, and then turn around, win the ACC, go to the college football playoff. There were a lot of people who even has dogged Clemson through the years, even when they were actually good. Even had them like Paul Feinbaum coming out and saying, I think this team's going to win the national championship. And then the season kicked off for both of these teams. Now let's talk about the Gamecocks for a second. I want to say this to my Clemson brethren. I have some good Gamecock jokes, and I'm quite sure you do as well. Let's go ahead and knock the dust off of them. Let's dive into them. Man, if Steve Spurrier loved you so much, why did he basically leave in the middle of the night? Let me guess, he couldn't take it anymore. But he loved you. A man who we've never seen quit, ever. And he quit on you. But let me guess. There was something going on. No. Why is he back at Florida again? Anyway. Muschamp, you thought he was going to win in Columbia when he didn't have the success that he thought he was going to have at Florida? And you thought he could come to Columbia and win? Much respect to Muschamp, because this man, even when he lost, even when he was fired, he still made a killing coaching a game and made a killing in his buyout. So we have that. I have a few more jokes that I could tell, but I'm going to spare you. But at the end of the day, both of these teams are just, you talk about not meeting expectations. Neither one of them met expectations. I'm going to start with South Carolina. In the preseason, I previewed on my other channel, another college football podcast. You should go check it out and see that I actually called this. I didn't expect them to do this bad, but I told South Carolina, hey, I started looking at all the defensive players that you lost, like a lot of them. And I know you have Dylan Stewart and you have Cisse and you have, I think, Kilgore, but listen to me, you lost like everyone else, and you're not Ohio State, you're not Georgia. Of course, South Carolina fans showed up, feathers and all, to tell me that I was just a stupid tiger and I was crazy and I didn't know what I was talking about. And now you're 4-7. Do you? Yeah. You get what I'm talking about? Yeah. Yeah. Lenoris Sellers doesn't play defense. And even if he did, he would be 1 of 11 on the field. Yeah. Losing that many players on any team is a big deal. Ask Texas. They lost almost all their offense. And because of Manning was going to come out and play quarterback for them, everything was going to be okay. They're not going to the playoffs. After all that money they've spent, they're not going to the playoffs. And I'm really not knocking Garch there. I think that the expectation placed on him is just ridiculous. Let's flip to the Tigers. The preseason, you were expected to at least go to the college football playoff. Now, I pumped the brakes and said, look, I'm not going to talk about a national championship. They got to do some things for me. I got to see some stuff first. I'm not going down this path, but I think it could be a special season. But I also said, if they lose 3 regular season games, this is a catastrophic failure. They had one of the most tenured, experienced, returning rosters in all of college football. Them in Penn State. Isn't it odd that both teams failed and failed drastically? One of them lost their coach. And then, of course, Clemson starting off the season against LSU. It was a massive game. It was big on paper. It's the Tigers, and which is the real Death Valley. And the major networks was absolutely wetting their drawers, peeing all over themselves, ruined multiple good chairs over that matchup, and ended up being nothing. LSU doesn't even have their coach anymore. That's how happy they are with their season. Clemson's 6-5. Both quarterbacks really didn't live up to the hype. And there's one other thing that both of these teams have going for them, is that they don't have an offensive line. Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny to me that both of these teams suffer from a non-existent offensive line. Now, here's the interesting thing about that with Clemson. They have Matt Luke. Now, a lot of people, not a lot, but there's a decent amount of people in the Clemson community who wants Matt Luke fired. This man is an offensive line guru. No, I'm not talking about his time as a head coach at Ole Miss. I'm talking about what he does really well, and it's teaching, developing, creating offensive linemen, worthwhile offensive linemen. This is probably one of the worst offensive lines he's ever had in the history of him coaching, which should bother us Clemson fans, that it's not him, it's very well us. On South Carolina, on the other hand, yeah, they have Lenoris Sellers, but here's the interesting thing. He may be big, and he may be able to break tackles and extend plays and give them a fighting chance, but here's the thing. His offensive line hasn't given him a fighting chance at all. In fact, they had to fire their offensive line coach. By the way, I told you that Mike Shula was not going to give you the same results as Dowell Loggins. South Carolina fans, what did y'all tell me? Go ahead. Go ahead. I know. I told you. I suffer ridicule from the hands of my own team because I tell them the truth. Of course, other teams are not going to enjoy it when I tell them the truth as well. Both these teams, their offensive line does not protect the quarterback. They don't. And what is interesting to me as of late with Clemson and then South Carolina overall, South Carolina is shocked every year that the offensive line is their problem. In fact, my father-in-law, who's a big Gamecock fan, I told him, you're way too nice to be a Gamecock. I know he's going to probably end up watching this. But I told him, I said, "You're way too nice to be a Gamecock. Come on, man." He asked me what I thought about the Gamecocks and like honestly, with the whole offensive line, I said they're going to have to focus on getting an offensive line guru in there and then realizing that you can have an incredible quarterback, but if you can't block for him, it's a waste. And this has happened so many times at South Carolina. By the way, I could care less what happens down there. I'm a Clemson fan. But if you're going to fix the problem, you have to accept that there is a problem and you have to change the way you recruit and the way you develop. Or else I don't care if you put Michael Vick back there in the heyday, he's only going to win you so much. Do you get what I'm saying here? Both of these teams are in a bad place. Both of these teams are not living up to expectations. In the preseason, we thought that this game could potentially be a top 20 matchup. Some people said top 10. I didn't believe that. I saw South Carolina losing 4 or 5 ball games. I did. I saw them losing games. I did not see them making it to the college football playoff. I didn't see them making it to the SEC championship. Why? You basically lost all of your defense last year. And as a reminder, you're not Ohio State and you're not Georgia. So I saw a challenging season for them. I saw them not doing nearly as well as they thought they were going to do. Clemson, on the other hand, I'm sorry, you got me. Congratulations, Clemson, you got me. You got me. I mean, I was sitting here going, hey, we have this roster and stuff, and we have people coming up to us going, well, the roster was just not that good. I don't think that was it. I've talked about the changes at wholesale that needs to be made with the coaching staff at Clemson. I'm not going to go down that path again, but I believe I stand correct because listen to me, we've changed coordinators and we still have a development issue. Folks, when you're troubleshooting a problem, you look at variables that has changed and you look at variables that has stayed constant. And when you change certain variables and you get the same result, you have to look at the variables that didn't change. And especially after this season, I love my Tigers. I grew up in that area, blah, 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 blah. But I am telling you straight up, folks, Clemson's not going to catch me off guard like that again. Clemson's going to have to prove it to me. Clemson's going to have to prove it to me. I did not say I stopped pulling for them. Some of you hear words that doesn't even exist. And I'm like, whoa, hold up. I didn't say I wasn't going to pull for them anymore. So they're going to have to prove it to me. They're going to have to prove it to me. And the number one way that they're going to prove it to me is when this coaching staff is overhauled. I did not say fire Dabo Swinney. Again, I have to tell you words that I'm not saying. I'm like, I did not say that. You're going to have to go out and listen. Just merely making changes does not mean that you fire someone and then hire someone like them. You have to hire someone who is elite at each position. It's easier to pay coaches than it is to pay players because players come and go. Their price changes every year. Coaches, you can sign them for a long period of time. Players are coming and going, and the result is going down for Clemson. With that said, my question is, who wants to lose less in this game? Who really, normally you would say who wants it more, but I think between both of these teams, they find a way to mess it up. I'm going to tell you this, Gamecocks, watching y'all blow a 27-point lead at Texas A&M is one of the absolute worst failures I've ever seen any team, period, Gamecock or not, I've ever seen in my entire life watching college football, watching any football. I've watched PlayStation games, not get wasted that bad. I mean, I don't know how y'all played this past weekend against Coastal Carolina. Have absolutely no clue. It's wild. That was hilarious. Let's talk about the Gamecocks. Let's talk about their season. All right, they started off the season by beating Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is not good. They beat them 24-11. Virginia Tech loved the results of their team so much they fired their coach many weeks ago, and now they hired James Franklin out of Penn State. I don't know why I said Franklin. I guess I'm having an episode here. They beat Virginia Tech 24-11. They beat South Carolina State, gave them a payday, and then they played Diego Pavia and lost 31-7. Now, in that game, I believe Sellers got hurt. I think Luke Doty had to come in. But you still lost. You played at Missouri. You lost 29-20. You played Kentucky. That is your only SEC win all year. All year. Play Kentucky, who's terrible. 35-13, beat them. Played at LSU. Had some mistakes there, and actually could have beat LSU. I think at one time they could have beat LSU. Because my oldest is a Gamecock. I see a lot of Gamecock football, folks. So for any Gamecocks who's like, you have no clue. Yeah, I've probably watched just as much, if not more, Gamecock football than you, because we'll do a split screen. Because if I'm going to pick at my rival, at least I want to be right. Played Oklahoma. Brent Venables, former Clemson defensive coordinator. Man, I miss that guy. I miss that edge. I miss that passion. I miss that fire. I miss that result. Brent Venables beat South Carolina in Columbia 26-7. Played Alabama. I actually played Bama well. Lost to Alabama 29-22. Lane Kiffin, the Bill Clinton of college football, beat you 30-14. Of course, Texas A&M, you lost by 1 point. I mean, you were only up by 27. I mean, good grief. Then you played the artist formerly known as Coastal Carolina. You beat them 51-7 this past week. So right now, in the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you've won twice. And you're coming off of a 5-game skid. So before the Coastal game, you're on a 5-game skid. Terrible. And I told you, losing all of those players on the defense, it was going to hurt you. And then you got to block for Sellers. You can't block. You can't block for him. Absolutely can't block for him. And calling this out, I mean, it's really, really obvious. All right, now let's go to Clemson side. Let's talk about Clemson for a second. Clemson 6-5. Believe it or not, they're on a 3-game win streak. Started off the season with LSU, lost 17-10. Played Troy. I was at that game. Trailed for most of the game. Troy turned around and lost. Clemson beat them 27-16. Played at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech beat them on a walk-off field goal at the very end with time expiring. It was an NFL-style kick, but it was a loss. Next up, lost to Syracuse. Now, here's the key about the Syracuse loss. This was the most dominant loss that Clemson had. What I mean by that was the other team dominated. Syracuse was up by 20 points. You go, well, Syracuse just lost by 9,000 points to Notre Dame. Here's the difference. Steve Angeli played against us. Steve Angeli played most of the game for Syracuse against us. When he came into this game, he was the second leading passer in passing yards in the entire country. The guy looked like a machine, came out. I think that the season would have been much better for Syracuse. And I think once he got injured and other people got injured, it was done. They were totally, totally done. But that Syracuse team was totally different. That was a totally different team, mindset and all, that played us, than played Notre Dame this past week. It was. Clemson lost by 13 points to them. That was the worst loss of the season. All right. Played North Carolina. Beat them. They're terrible. Beat Boston College. They're terrible. Played SMU. Chris Vizina came in, threw for over 300 yards. Well, SMU's defense, their secondary is terrible. Still, he threw for 300 yards. We gave up 35 points. You lose by 1 point to Duke. You put up 45 points. Florida State, you beat Florida State. They're bad. You went to Louisville, and you won by 1 point. It was a very ugly game on both sides. Louisville since fell apart. They lost by a lot to SMU this past Saturday. And then, of course, Clemson beat Furman 45-10. The big story coming out of that game was Chris Denson. So with all of that said, you have two teams who they could have done way better. And here's one thing I'm going to say to South Carolina fans. If you want to talk about the SEC, are y'all just figuring out that you play in the SEC? Are you just figuring that out? Because there comes a time to where using that excuse that you play in the SEC, which, listen, I understand strength of schedule. I understand all of that. But here's the deal. If you're going to play in that conference, you have to put that excuse aside and go, we're either going to compete and stop talking about it or not. I'll tell you this personal story. There was a league that I let both my sons play in for quite a while. And I mean, I have a lot of years invested in this. Like I've coached football for a long time in this league. And I disagreed with the way that they had teams split. What they would do is they would allow someone to basically get a core group of players. And if they got them right out of the womb, they're going to keep that team, up until current day. Meanwhile, they're going to turn around and take the new players who comes in and they're just going to split them up. And they're going to give them to the other guys who are like, hey, I'm here to coach. And you could, like myself, you could be coaching for a while there. And they're going to allow one guy to keep his team. And you know what's going to happen? That team's going to play together so long that they're just going to naturally beat other teams versus splitting that team up and saying, hey, we're going to do a lottery. If you're coaching your kid, you automatically get your kid. We're going to split up the team, right? We're not going to let someone come in here and buzzsaw all the other teams while we have one group on one team who most of them are first-year players. So you have kids who they don't even know the game. They're just there to learn, playing a team that's been playing together for many, many years. Okay? I had to finally, this year is the first time in forever that I stepped back and I said, look, watching this one team, and there was always that one team, and it would happen every child that I had, there was one team that kept together nonstop, and they beat the crap out of everyone. Here's the key. Those kids aren't actually getting any better. They're a team that's stayed together, right? They've been together for a long time. Their parents are friends. They live in the same neighborhood, so they all request to be on that same team. Meanwhile, they're playing players that's never, ever played football before. So, of course, they're going to beat them by a lot of points. But they're not getting any better. That was the point. You're not helping these kids who thinks they're winning and getting better. And what ends up happening, they end up going to their local high school. And they figure out real quick that's not normal. They figure out that there's teams out there who are much better than them, and they were not as good as they thought they were. You're actually doing a disservice to them. You're doing a disservice to the younger kids. But I had to accept that this is the way that this organization that I was coaching at, this is how they run it. They are going to put one team that they've all, as I said, they have requested the same coach because they're all friends. They all live in the same neighborhood, and they're going to play together. They're going to allow them to beat a team while they take another team or another set of kids and disperse them among teams that, they're just kind of there. And they don't even know how to play. They don't know how to line up. You're having to tell them which way to run for the end zone. Meanwhile, you have this other team buzzsawing through them. And for the people who's on that team, that's really funny. It's funny. I get it. But on the other side, you have these other kids who are getting the crap beat out of them. It's disheartening and so on. But I had to accept that's the way this organization splits up their players. And so I could either stop complaining about it and go with it, or say, you know what, this is just I don't see this being a benefit to the kids. I don't see this being a good thing. So instead of me complaining about it, instead of me having to send my kid's been playing for a while. He's a really good athlete. He's a really good player. He can throw, he can catch, he can play defense and everything. And putting him out there with a lot of kids, and I coach some really wonderful people, children. They're children. They're not young people. They're children. And met some wonderful parents. But it was unfair to them that they would get the crap beat out of them by a team that had been together for years. I had to step back and say, I don't believe in that, and I'm not going to go back to it. I don't believe that's the right thing to do for anyone involved here. So Gamecocks, if I can do that with youth league ball, you need to accept you're in the SEC. You could leave the SEC when your contract is up. And you can stop giving an excuse that, well, we got beat by this team and that team and this team and that team and this team and that team. Okay. You choose to be in the SEC. So you can either leave or you can start recruiting at a high level, and you can start recruiting offensive linemen instead of getting one good quarterback and then expect him to snout the ball and take off running for his life. I mean, if I had to make that decision, you can too, but you can't have it both ways. You just end up looking silly. So there we go with the Gamecocks and them wanting to talk about the SEC. You're in it. Your administration can get you out of it once the contract is up. If you can't do it, right? If it is so unfair to you. Now, for me, I'm sitting here with kids that are literally lining up the wrong way. It's way different than college football. Way different. I mean, y'all got millions pouring into that thing down there, right? So, I mean, this ain't even apples to oranges. But, you're either going to play in the SEC or you're not, and you have to stop using that excuse. Clemson. I'm going to shut up after this. Getting out of this season is just really, really interesting. A lot of people is looking at Clemson right now, wanting to know what's going to happen after Saturday's game. No, Dabo's not going to be fired. No, I'm not calling for him to be fired. But at the end of the day, you're probably going to go to, we know you're not going to go to an elite bowl whatsoever, because even if you win Saturday, you'll be 7-5. You're 4-4 in the conference, so you fall way down the scale of football teams. There's a bunch of teams in front of you right now, Clemson. There's a lot of people who's looking at Dabo Swinney, and they're asking the question after Saturday. We hope it's a win. Don't want to lose South Carolina. What are you going to do? Are you going to overhaul the coaching staff? Are you going to do it? And that's what a lot of people are asking right now. So there's more for Clemson fans. They're thinking about this game. They want this win. I want this win. But here's the deal. We're all looking at this game going, but what's going to happen on Sunday? And on Monday, he's going to wait until after the bowl game. The bowl game that's probably a pre-Christmas bowl game. We need 3 more weeks. Okay. What's going to happen after that? There's a lot of questions for Clemson fans here as we look at this game. We want this win. We want this win because you never want to lose to your rival. I don't want Clemson to lose South Carolina. And get this. If Clemson loses to South Carolina this Saturday, this will be the 3rd loss in 4 years to the Gamecocks. So, get into the comment section here. Double trim. Tigers, please win so I can do a victory lap around 5 points in Columbia with my orange and purple on. Thank you, Double Trim, for the donation to the podcast. I really, really do appreciate it. That means a lot to me. I appreciate you helping out. That is flipping awesome. That is flipping awesome. Thank you so much. Get in here, say hello to a few people. If I can answer a few questions in a second, I will. Willman, we buy a touchdown. Good to see you. You have a great season of commentary, and I look forward to your take on next year, the Indiana Flatlanders. Good to see you, my man. Coot Hate Week, good to see you. Mitchell Hill, hello, Brian. Good to see you. I don't expect Clemson to win on Saturday, but I am hoping we will play our best game of the year. SC is better than their record shows. Tiger Man's in here. At least Clemson won the blood drive. Fans give more blood this year than players did. Well, look at it this way, Nicholas Powell. Both teams have got the blood beat out of them throughout this entire season. Oh, man. First of all, nobody thought Muschamp was going to win in Columbia. There was a lot of people who were vying for that. But hey, maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't. Play Denson, win. Play the guys who can't make fast decisions or read a defense, and chances are grim. Good to see you. Hope Dabo put some packages in for Chris Denson to run 1 or 2 series on the road against the Gamecocks, see how he performs, if he can read a defense, not just scramble plays, but passing plays. I agree with you 100%. I'd love to see him out there. Just got the live notification. Good. Yes, Benson reminded me of Woody Dantzler and Deshaun Watson. His mannerisms and style reminded me of Watson. I predict a legacy game from Sammy Brown and Will Helt. What about this, folks? Jaheim Lawson's out for the season. That guy he played really well this season. Played very, very well. Bobby Durkin's going to have a song if Clemson wins. Maybe so. When we lose to them, then they gain so much in areas of recruiting. We really need to put this together Saturday and win this game. Good to see you, Alan. John answers, hey, good to see you. Clemson at USC rivalry as intense and hate-filled as UNC. Chapel Hill versus there's a ton of hate there. There's a ton of hate there. We a lot of dislikes here. Jonathan Benton, who wants it more like who wants it at all, given these teams' season. Yeah, I agree with you. Big Kev, hi Brian. It's good to see you. Good to see you. Going on down. Love Chris Denson. A lot of people saying that. A lot of people believes in him. Wanting to see him. Exactly. Robert Gibbs, A&MU's being in SEC against Texas. UNC wants in SEC, and they will still be a football crowd. They just want SEC for branding and recruiting. CFB has become run by ESPN money brand programming managers. Yeah, probably so. All right, folks, let me know in the comments section, what do you think about both teams? What do you think about Saturday? Of course, I have my prediction up probably on Wednesday, but I will be talking about this because this is rivalry week. This game could be absolutely decrepit for both teams. I think that kind of like that Clemson-Louisville game where it was just ugly and someone had to win. I really see this game being more like that. I see that it could be an ugly game. If either team jumps out to a lead, there's a part of me that kind of stepped like a 14-point lead, 17-point lead. You can't say that the other team couldn't come back because South Carolina already proved that. The rebuttal to that is, well, Clemson's not A&M. I agree with you. But at the same time, both teams could easily lose a lead. So this is going to be a messy one. I think this will be one of those games like 2004 where, you could almost see a brawl before the game. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, this is just really, really, I think, bad football. So anyway.